After an entire year of just hearing this and that and basically knowing that he's been signing with the Roosters for 4, 5, 6 months now, we're finally at the moment where Daly Cherry-Evans has actually made the contract official. The Roosters have done it and they have signed him for, well, at least 2026 and then 2027 he does have a player option. I feel like it would be quite ridiculous, to be completely honest with you, if we went through this entire 2025 season of the ifs, buts, maybes, ums and ahs, and then for him to only play the 1 year at the Roosters and, you know, take away from his entire record of playing, 356 games for the Manly Sea Eagles and being that one club player, winning the premiership for them in 2011. It'd be really odd for him to just make a switch and then just play that 1 year. So I'm heavily assuming that he will be playing in 2027 as well on that player option. But then again, what do I know? This is just all our opinions and thoughts here. But hey guys, how you guys are down BKR Sport? I did actually forget to say hello. We are going to be talking about this Cherry-Evans signing today, which we're going to do a lot of in the off-season. Usually we just do our live streams in this 2025 where we react to every single game. But I am going to be talking a lot more about news related to the NRL, specifically in the off-season, and absolutely smashing it down. So obviously let me know your thoughts in the comment section for what you think this means for the NRL. And I put a couple of questions here on the screen. I got the Roosters halves. What does this mean? Is it DCE times Walker? And is DC full-time? He is 36 years old. He is going to be 37 by next year, and then he'll be 38 in 2027. So there is a lot of questions here in regards to his age that do need to be discussed. And, you know, he was, and there's a positive and a negative here, pro and a con for the fact that he was a Queensland representative. That doesn't necessarily mean that he still has that form, but he still brings the experience there and still brings a lot of positives with it regardless. I also put in, does this open the door for clubs to sign Hugo Savala? And then do the Gold Coast Titans, St. George Illawarra Dragons, Redcliffe Dolphins, North Queensland Cowboys, etc., make a move? I think that there is a plenty of opportunity there for a guy like Savala, who now is going to be on the back burner at the very minimum until next year, and then probably until 2028. So does he feel like he's going to be ready now? He's been playing a lot of rugby league, a lot of first grade football for the Roosters, but unfortunately he just can't really fit into the team right now. It wouldn't make sense when you've got Connor Watson as the 14. Well, he's not going to be able to play that 14. So Sam Walker in the 6 and Cherry-Evans in the 7. Or maybe they even go Sam Walker in the 7 and Cherry-Evans in the 6. It wouldn't necessarily surprise me there. I'd probably keep Sam Walker in the 7. But this does mean that Hugo Savala, who actually grew up as a Sydney Roosters fan and loves playing for this club, rejected a Gold Coast Titans deal in 2024, apparently. He wanted to play for his club. He wanted to play for the Sydney Roosters, and he was going to get that opportunity. I believe he's still on a development deal as well, so no real security there overall. But the Roosters are still going to need depth, but he might believe that he is ready to get consistent footy. And there are a lot of clubs out there that are questioning what they're doing with their halves, especially teams like the St. George Illawarra Dragons. Newcastle Knights went and signed Sandon Smith, which was good for them. They got Dylan Brown, but they're still kind of in a bit of a... Well, that's what they're going to go with. That's why I didn't add the Knights to this list here, because they are going to go with Sandon Smith and Dylan Brown in their halves. There's still just questions overall about them, but the Knights halves have been massive questions for quite a few years now. This is not the first year we've questioned them, considering that they've gone through about 100 of them in the last 3-4 years. So, look, obviously, plenty of teams there that could potentially be looking towards the signing of Hugo Savala. I've also got, what's the second-year player option? The right choice due to age. As I said before, he's 36 years old, going on 37 for next season, and then he'll be 38 when he has that player option in 2027. So 38 years old, it's his choice. I'm a bit surprised by this, but I guess that would have been a stipulation because Manly apparently did offer him in March a 2-year deal where there was a lot of to and fro when Cherry-Evans was saying he didn't receive a deal and he did. And anyway, long story short, there was apparently a 2-year deal offered to stay at the club, which confuses me why he didn't take that up, but I'm not involved in the contract discussions. So, you know, was it the right choice to give him that second-year player option? Maybe that was because of that Manly offer. The final question is this signing only a success if they win the grand final? What defines it as a success? So for me, in regards to Cherry-Evans and his success from the Roosters' end, as in why they signed the contract, why they brought him in, the question that I have for that is what makes it a success and what makes it a failure? Because when Adam Reynolds signed with the Brisbane Broncos, I said that it needed to be a premiership. There needed to be a premiership there with the Broncos because they kind of went all in on an aging half that Rabbitohs didn't want, or they signed, but they didn't want for long term, which is ultimately saying that they don't necessarily trust him long term injury wise. But the Broncos went out and signed him, and I said for a long time, and I said even up until this year, unless the Broncos win a premiership with Adam Reynolds, it is actually quite a bit of a failure because they went all out for this and it didn't work out. Obviously, it turned into a success. They won the premiership in 2025, which is fantastic with Adam Reynolds. But with Cherry-Evans, the Roosters, what did they finish in 8th this year? Let me just go quickly make sure here before I dribble on. Let me just quickly go make sure they finished in 8th this year, correct? They did. They finished in 8th position. So it can't really be said that it's a success for the Roosters if they just make the finals. I guess if they make the preliminary finals and really improve as a club, then you can discuss it. But this is only a 1-2 year kind of deal. You know, so they do actually have to, and this isn't like Reynolds where he has been able to prolong his career because he was younger. Cherry-Evans is 36, he will be 37, and then he will be 38 when the second year option comes up. So if they don't win a premiership in 2026, or they don't win a premiership in 2027 with him there, well then what was kind of the point of this? You know, what was the overall point? Especially considering you're saying to guys like Savala, we don't need you right now. And then what's your future like? I get the Roosters can fix that over the next couple of years, but for the time being, you just look at it and go, well, if he doesn't win the premiership with the Roosters, it doesn't really make a fantastic amount of sense here, especially with that age. So I think that it is a bust if they don't win the premiership, even if they just make the preliminary finals. It's only a 1-2 year kind of deal. There is no prolonging here. I do think they need to win a grand final with him. Otherwise, it was a pointless signing for the sake of it. And which is what I know that they believe. I think they know this. They would have to know that this is the boom or bust scenario here. And for Cherry-Evans, of course, he's going to sign. I feel like it's weird that he hasn't stayed with Manly considering he was a one-club player and we all know what happened in 2014. But it is a bit weird that he has made this switch, but I do believe that probably is because, one, he wants to get a final payday from extending his career and also having a chance at the premiership, which I don't necessarily believe Manly are in that window currently. Expected a lot from them this year. They disappointed me this year, unfortunately. So, for me, it is a boom or bust. It is a boom or bust, premiership or nothing. And in regards to Hugo Savala, now, this is really interesting because in 2024, there is an article here where he was speaking to Zero Tackle, and apparently the Gold Coast Titans did make a big move for him. He said, truthfully, in my heart, I'm a Rooster and my goal was to play for the Roosters. It means the world to me. I've gone for them my whole entire life and I wouldn't want to do it for any other club. It was the best feeling. All my mates support the Sydney Roosters and from eastern suburbs, and that's all we ever know, the red, white and blue. Fair enough. I'd love that to lock down a regular spot in the team, but I've just got to play good footy and take care of myself. I just want to play consistent, good football and hopefully try and make the team each week. Now, Savala's a good player and can play in the 7, can play in the 6. I believe he's still on a development deal. Is he going to remain loyal to the Roosters? He has had an option before, but also that was at a different time where the Roosters were kind of still looking for their future halfback or future halves. Now, they're locked in for 1-2 years, so it means he's going to have to wait a couple of years unless there's an injury there. But this is a signal to him that they don't believe that he can win the premiership for them. It is. It's a signal. They've gone out and gotten a 36 going on 37-year-old halfback who, look, with all due respect, has been dropped as the captain and from the Queensland team overall. It's pretty clear at Manly this year in 2025 that his form was not fantastic by any stretch of the imagination. And it's a very difficult thing, I guess, I would assume, for Hugo to imagine that they've not just gone with him, they've gone with Cherry to come across on a bit of a risk and a boom or a bust rather than to continue with him there when they did still get to the top 8 despite losing all those players like Joe Manu and the likes. They were able to still change up everything and find a way through injuries and through player losses to make the top 8. So it's like if they've got a little bit more solidity there and their team in 2026 is looking pretty good. It's just, I feel like what would Hugo be thinking right now? Would he be still certain that he has to play for his club and his club only regardless if he has to now wait a couple of years and still no guarantees at that. There's just a lot of questions that I think Hugo Savala needs to ask, and maybe he does look at a team like the Dragons, who is still in Sydney, but it's a bit of a rival. They have got huge halves concerns. Huge. They've just lost Lockie Ilias as well to the Gold Coast Titans. Not that really would have mattered to them too much, but overall their halves are a mess right now. Hugo could be an option there. The Gold Coast Titans. Yes, they brought in Ilias, but is that the long-term option? I'm not too sure. They'll give him an opportunity. Jaden Campbell, I think they probably want to put him into the 6 rather than the 7. There's options there. Even the Dolphins aren't solidified. You do have Isai Katoa there in the 7, but I guess you could consider Hugo Savala coming through. North Queensland Cowboys, we know their issues right now, but I think their issues should be more so focused on maybe their coach. But there is a lot of potential here for Savala to move. So, look, I don't know. He's got a lot to ask himself and to see if he wants to remain at his club, despite the fact that his club has kind of told him for the time being, we can't see you win a premiership with us. We do need to go and get that real solidifier in the halfback. Probably here for the Roosters fans, because I don't want you to feel like I'm just shitting on your club or shitting on Cherry-Evans or anything like that. I'm just giving you the questions that are going to be asked about this. The positive here for the Roosters is that I genuinely do believe the Roosters with their team can win the premiership next year. I feel like it's absolutely possible. And I think that this is actually a perfect signing for them to do it. Because whilst I will big up Savala and say that he can be a very good player, they do want a lot more solidity right now and that experience with this team that I believe can make a genuine push if they are healthy. Look at this team. James Tedesco is the fullback, the current Daly M, fullback of the year. Mark Nwanga-Tuwase and Daniel Tupou. Nwanga-Tuwase, winger of the year. Tupou, absolutely incredible. Billy Smith and Robert Toya, very strong centres there. Billy Smith underrated. Robert Toya playing for, I think it's Tonga, and also was a fantastic part of the Queensland lineup in 2025 that helped them to win the State of Origin. The 5'8", Sam Walker, we all know how good he is. They put in that. Well, they've got Cherry-Evans here as the halfback. I wouldn't be surprised if they still put Ches into the 6 and Sam Walker into the 7, but let's just go with what Zero Tackle here is predicting. They've got Sam Walker in the 6, absolutely fantastic, and Cherry-Evans comes into that 7 to really solidify that back line. And then you've got some amazing forwards here of Nafahu White and Lindsay Collins. Really tough. Thought Nafahu White had an incredible year in 2025. The signing of Reece Robson, an Origin hooker from the North Queensland Cowboys, that's a massive signing. That's a huge signing. Siwa Wong and Angus Crichton in the back row. Love that. Victor Radley in the 13 with the interchange. Connor Watson, Blake Steep, Nat Butcher, and Spencer Leniu. That's a really good team. It's a really good team. And if Cherry-Evans can just perform at a decent level, he doesn't need to be at his elite level. Cherry-Evans, for the Roosters to win the competition this year, does not need to perform at his prime Origin Australian level, which was incredible. He's not there anymore. Forget about it. Fans, forget about it. We all know it. Daly Cherry-Evans is not at that level anymore. He's 36, going on 37 years old. We shouldn't expect him to be at that level anymore. But he doesn't need to be at that level because you've got a fantastic team of Tedesco, Nwanga-Tuwase, Sam Walker. There's Angus Crichton. There's so much X factor here. There is so much potential for this team to just jump right back up into the fray. And that is all holding on to the fact that they don't get injured, which is what every team goes through, and the team who wins the premiership is usually the least injured team. Broncos kind of proved that wrong a little bit towards the finals, but usually the team that wins it is the team that is the most, consistent with injuries. So I do hold high hopes for this. It is boom or bust with Cherry-Evans. If they don't do what I'm saying here, and Cherry-Evans just doesn't perform at a normal level, like they did sign Chad Townsend, and with all due respect to Chad, came across from the Cowboys. He was great at the Sharkies. He wasn't the most incredible player in that spine that won the premiership in 2016, but he was still an important factor. You can't be the halfback and not be an important factor. But he just did his job at a decent enough level, which is why I compare that a little bit, different ages, but I compare that a little bit to what the Roosters here, where Cherry-Evans doesn't need to perform at that elite level. And the Sharkies had Mick Ennis, had Benny Barber, they had James Maloney. They had plenty of options around where Chad didn't need to be that guy. It's a bit of a weird comparison here. But I think you understand what I'm trying to say here. Chad Townsend didn't need to be that guy. Whilst I don't believe that Cherry-Evans needs to be that guy, he just needs to perform at a solid level here, and this team can go and do it. But Chad Townsend was signed from the Cowboys. Maybe not with the same, or definitely not with the same expectations here as Cherry-Evans, but now he is retired. Didn't really get it going there at all. There is question marks about them going and signing those aged halfbacks for that very reason. But I do hold a lot more high hopes for the experience, the consistency that Cherry-Evans can show here at the Sydney Roosters. So I do think this is heavily contingent. I do think that this is actually a good signing for the Roosters. But it does leave questions for their future in the halves. It does definitely leave questions for Hugo Savala and what he's doing going into the future. And it is heavily contingent on them winning a premiership. If they do not win a premiership, I don't believe this was the right move to make. I don't. Because there is also plenty of experience here. It's not like Cherry-Evans is coming in for, pure experience at a very youthful team. This team has plenty of experience around. Tedesco is extremely experienced. Sam Walker's had plenty of time now. Angus Crichton, Victor Radley, Lindsay Collins. There's so much experience here that can help the younger heads. It's not like he's just signed purely for experience. So this is a good signing, very good signing, on the basis they win a premiership. But if we look down in 1-2 years' time and they haven't won a premiership, then I'll say that this was relatively pointless. And it just didn't really do much at all and was a failure of a signing. But that is the flip of the coin. We never know what's going to happen. But that's my thoughts here today, guys. So I'm really excited about this. I do think there's going to be a lot of criticism for it, but I'm actually really excited about it and to see how the Roosters do go. But I do need Cherry-Evans just to be at a normal level. Just don't be bad. If you don't be bad and you're just at a decent level, there's going to be plenty of amazing talent around you that can get this job done. Just play at a decent level. So that's it for today, guys. Thumbs up, subscribe, get into the comment section. Let me know your thoughts. We will see you guys this weekend for the streams. I appreciate you as always. Thanks for watching. Catch you later. See ya.